YouTube. Good evening and welcome to Mindful Live 296. I'm your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is presently the 23rd of October 2023, the 23rd of the 23rd in the 2000s. Yes. And this evening, on this lovely Monday evening, we're talking Trinidad issues as we usually do. So if you're inside of the live, make sure to hit that like button, double tap the screen over there on TikTok, hit the like button however you do it on Instagram, and if you're viewing this on YouTube live or whether you view it on repeat, you could still hit the like button. Even on repeat, still hit that like button. It really does help. And drop a comment if you have something to say watching this over on YouTube. Again, you can head over there if you're viewing this live, Nathan Springer on YouTube. You can feel free to subscribe to me over there, so if you miss any of the lives, you could catch them on repeat. Anything missed, run over on YouTube and you'll catch whatever was said. It's live 296, so you could kind of guess how many other lives went before this one. If you're wanting to see what you missed, you aren't going to catch up. Don't worry, you're not able. If you want to try, you're not able. Either way, let's jump into some of these articles this evening. Relatives want answers as man charged with attempted murder of prison officer dies suddenly. The family of Emmanuel Joseph, who has been charged with the attempted murder of Deputy Prisons Commissioner Sherwin Bruce, is demanding to know how the 22-year-old, the lad was 22 years old, 22-year-old, how the 22-year-old died from cardiac arrest. Meanwhile, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has launched an investigation to determine how he died. Where you wanna go? To determine how he died, Joseph was charged with the attempted murder of Bruce, the attempted murder of prison officer Steve Phipps, and wounding of a 12-year-old girl on October 11th. The family said they learned of Joseph's death. Through the news updates posted on social media, and expressed outrage with the authorities for being kept in the dark over an extended period. Somebody say it was the vaccine. Oh, Rowley's son. Kamala 6. Okay. How much was the payout for the wrongful dismissal by the government? The business he was in is a stressful one. Well, yeah, it was a stressful one. Let's go on. After a report was made, officers took him to, according to police reports, Joseph, who was remanded to the Eastern Correctional Rehabilitation Center on Thursday, reported feeling unwell at 9 p.m. on Friday. After a report was made, officers took him to the Arima Health Facility. Joseph was examined by Dr. Boutour, and at 10:30 p.m. he was pronounced dead. The cause of death was listed as cardiac arrest. However, his sister, Crystal Charles, told Guardian Media at their home in Santa Cruz yesterday that she's not satisfied with what the authorities are saying is the cause of death. I want the truth. Nobody doesn't like to talk the truth at all. And you see the system, I always used to tell that same one, and I would tell anybody, you see the system, don't ever get in the system, a distressed Charles said. She said the lack of information surrounding Joseph's death has planted seeds of doubt in their minds. As we say, nobody is telling us. The news puts up everything before we know anything. We want a lawyer to be present because they say an autopsy must take place. So we want the lawyer present, the sister declared. Charles explained that her brother was not known to suffer from any serious medical condition, adding to the concerns over his passing. He never had any heart conditions. The boy used to be up and down all over, used to be smoking, drinking, liming, and partying nearly every day. Not to say he suffered from anything. Now, to be clear, that might be part of the problem. If you're out there smoking, drinking, liming, and partying pretty much every day, all day, you're not doing your heart any favors. Bro, you should do your part. Basically, that is what this is, just by the way, Rowley said. Would she have been speaking out had the prison officer died? To hell with she, Talias. I was waiting to see if anybody would point out that fact, because to me it's interesting that the sister has voiced her concern over her brother's death, which seems suspicious in this case. But in this, at no point did she acknowledge that her brother was out there allegedly distressing people. There was an 11-year-old girl in that vehicle. She was also injured in the barrage of gunfire. Like, there isn't even an attempt to seem a little conciliatory about the fact that allegedly what your brother was engaged in was so reprehensible. Like, to me, if I was asking questions about such a thing, I would introduce the questions like, yes, I understand that in such a situation, it could seem like anything that comes out of it would be fair game to him, but nonetheless, he was still my brother, and there's still a tender place in his heart, and this isn't exactly what the justice system is about. The justice system means that he's supposed to go through and have his day in court, and if he was wrong, then they should have thrown him in jail, and that's what you say. But to make it just only on the side of it seemed like they kill him, kind of negating all of the run up to this. He was living, climbing, smoking, and drinking. Oh, I see. Of course, if that was my brother, my mouth would have been shut. Even if he dead, in custody, that is his business. He shouldn't have ended up in custody like that anyway. That's what you're saying, Otis. Now, here's the thing. When I was reading this article, all of those things stood out to me. All of those things were very interesting to me. But that wasn't the most interesting part to me. The most interesting part was this next piece that I'm going to read here. This next piece was actually what piqued my interest about this whole story. I was like, wait, did they just slip this into the story easy like this? Is nobody else taking note of what they just said in this story? Police sources told Guardian Media that Joseph was an informant and spoke out on the hidden guns, ammo, explosives, and police paraphernalia that was found in two separate major police operations at Cangrejal Road in Santa Cruz. The first haul was on the evening of October 11th, while Joseph was at a health facility for gunshot injuries stemming from the incident under police guard. The second haul was on October 17th in the same area, while Joseph was in police custody. Joseph was subsequently charged last Wednesday. Did you all hear what just slipped in there? Allegedly, this man was the informant for the guns that certain senior police officers stumbled upon. Now, this throws some spokes in all kind of different wheels, because the idea that remember when they found these guns, they said it was months of diligent police work. That seems to be not perfectly lining up with the truth of the situation. And so he's an informer and a hitman. Well, what it seems like the allegations are, Adrian Clark, I don't know what you are talking about, sir. What it seems like the allegation is here, or what is being suggested, is that when he was caught for what he allegedly did, that maybe they squeezed him for information and they got the information about that Santa Cruz haul. Maybe in squeezing him for information about Santa Cruz, they weakened his heart because they squeezed too much. I don't know. But I do find it very interesting that he was allegedly an informant for what may be debatably some of the biggest gun busts in Trinidad. He may have been the informant for what may arguably be one of the greatest gun busts in Trinidad. And then he's dead a week later. Within a week, he's dead. I mean, I just find it suspicious. I just find it suspicious. I can't say I know anything to be certain. I can say what happened or what didn't happen or what I'm sure is the case or is not the case, because I don't know. I was not there. I am not his doctor. I was not his cellmate. I wasn't interrogating him. I was nowhere involved in anything to do with the process. So I don't know. But if you present me with the information that a man allegedly attempted to assassinate a high-level prisons officer, he was shot in the process, he went to the hospital, he was apprehended. After he was apprehended, apparently he gave some information that led to 2 massive gun busts. And he dies within a week. If you just give me those facts laid out in front of me, I see something doesn't add up. This isn't an equation, it's an inequality. For those of you who know some maths out there. Baswa, he didn't even know none. So Jahim, you could say what you want. I don't know. I was not there. I'm working with what the news says. Nathan, don't forget the warehouse of guns in Kunupe last year. Well, that warehouse that had guns last year, it didn't have it only once. There was a warehouse in Central Region that was found with guns multiple times within the last 2 years or so. The same warehouse, multiple times. I find that very interesting too, just by the way. But this is another issue, a whole other issue. The man is gone. Now, whatever information he may have, what else he may know, no one will. No one else will. That's the end of that. K. Figo says, don't contradict yourself. The feds watching. Is freedom of speech a thing in Trinidad? K. Figo asks over on Instagram. No, freedom of speech is not a thing in Trinidad. There's basically one country in the world that has freedom of speech in their legislation, in their constitution. That's the United States. We don't have freedom of speech. We do have speech laws in Trinidad and Tobago. Once there are obscenity laws in a country, you don't have freedom of speech. But moving right along, there is no such thing as absolute freedom of speech. Yes, even in the United States, they don't have absolute freedom of speech. They still have limitations on their speech, but it's about the widest anywhere in the world has ever had it. The most free most people have ever had it. Jumping in to another article with law enforcement here in Trinidad and Tobago and how they interact. Bribes still passing at licensing. Officers complain about low salaries. Despite moves to crack down on corruption at the Transport Division's licensing offices, several employees say fraudulent activities, ranging from small-time bribes from touts for certified copies to unauthorized vehicle transfers and duplication of license plates, continue in the organization. Some employees say that while there has been a concerted effort in the division under the Transport Commissioner to tackle corruption, it remains part of the organization's culture. The employees described the arrests, and there were recently some arrests that happened inside of the licensing division where, was it two staff members, I believe, were arrested for a bit of racket that they were running allegedly. They were arrested. And coming out from the staff in licensing now, the employees describe the arrests as a show, asking, what about the rest? You can't get away from it, and you can't get rid of all the employees. It's understood. For example, when the touts come in to get certified copies, you often get $100 with the receipt. What am I going to do? Give them back? One employee asked. And you see, that's the problem when corruption becomes a culture. Yeah? The new employees that enter in are corrupted before they even have a choice to decide whether they want to be an honest work person. You come in as a new employee, and on the first day you get a receipt with $100 bill folded inside of it. And if you give that back, you're going to be rocking the boat for a lot of other people. Do you have the wherewithal to actually give it back? How many people would? This is again quoting from the employees at the transport division. You could be the righteous one, but you will likely end up suffering. You will be living on a normal salary, and everyone else would be driving an expensive vehicle, eating the best food, living nicely, traveling the world. And if you do the right thing, you suffer. So it is very difficult to walk that path, but people don't realize that, another employee said. You know, like this, the employee that is saying this, I hope they recognize this isn't something unique to the licensing division. Corruption and criminality is tempting to everyone to gain a little more. Everyone has that temptation that if you are corrupt, you'll earn a little more and live a life a little easier. Everyone has that. That's not really a good reason or a good excuse. It doesn't work like that. According to the employees, licensing division has its own culture. They admitted that Commissioner Clark's policies have seen a decline in corruption, saying that in the past it was far more rampant. And you see, here's something that I wonder about in something like that. Here's something I wonder about. They're saying, and the coming to do something different and change this corrupt culture. But how believable is it that the transport commissioner would be above that culture if he is someone who came up in the ranks of the same culture? What are the chances that the transport commissioner, and very likely if he's at the level of transport commissioner, he would have at least spent I suppose a decade inside of the transport division, inside of licensing, the licensing division. If he spent considerable time inside of that licensing division, and they all admit that there's a culture of corruption inside there, and he was able to climb the ranks inside a culture of corruption, how believable would his attempts to eradicate corruption really be? They estimated around 50 to 60% of licensing/transport division workers are scrupulous. The officers admitted, however, that they can confirm that even those they believe are clean are indeed above board. Can you imagine that they're saying about half, maybe even more, of licensing division is tainted? And the people that they believe are untainted, they don't even know for sure. How believable is it that there is no honest Trinidadian raised they say Trinidad has because they say Trinidad has a corrupt culture? Well, you see, here's the difference. Being a Trinidadian isn't a whole lot of choice, and there isn't a monolithic Trinidadian culture. What they are saying there is that the transport division does have a monolithic corrupt culture, and it requires one because the kind of corruption that is perpetrated requires far-reaching blind eyes being turned. It means that at least a significant portion of the entire division would have to be okay with the corruption continuing. That's different from saying there are pockets of Trinidad where significant corruption occurs. That's not the same thing. It's more akin to me to coming up in, let's say you join a law firm. You join a law firm, and the culture of the law firm, as known, is that it represents gangsters and mafia and mob and made men and connected men in the criminal underworld. That's the reputation of the law firm. And you elevate through the ranks of the law firm, start as junior whatever, reach the senior partner, name partner, whatever is the highest rank there is there. And you expect people to believe that you know nothing about the culture of representing criminals in the law firm. It doesn't work like that. How can you work your way through the ranks of a system when it said the system is corrupt and then say you are not? Now, here's the thing. I am not actually saying for sure that the man is corrupt. I don't know. Maybe he indeed made it through all those years and he held his integrity, as difficult as it was watching his co-workers take the bribes and get elevated further than him monetarily, and staying as honest as he can. Maybe he did. Maybe he never turned a blind eye. Maybe it's just that it's coincidental that he never actually witnessed any corruption in all his years in the licensing division. He was never in a position to witness any corrupt act where it was imperative on him to come forward with it. He never witnessed anything like that. Maybe all of that is true. What I am saying is that's a hard ask to ask people to believe that. It's much more easy for people to believe on the balance of probability that you yourself may be a little tainted too. And to me, in a position as such, it's kind of the ball is kind of in your court to prove otherwise. And it would take significant doing to prove otherwise, I think. If you want people to believe that indeed the licensing division is changing, you would need some significant action taking place. Something that is obviously noticeable to the wider public. I'll say I've yet to see anything in that vein. Anything that I would consider so obviously noticeable that you have to say, of course there is some change happening there without a doubt. You're seeing the changes. Yes. I am yet to see that. Welcome to Trinidad Room says. Welcome to Trinidad. I saw someone asking earlier there about how much the state paid in wrongful dismissal. And I was reading that article today. We're going to pull that up too. And this links well with what we were speaking about. When were we speaking about that? Was that last week, Friday or Thursday? Was it Friday, I think, where we were talking about how the government spends money. And when you understand that this is the reason why the TNTech bill needs to raise, this is why the price of fuel at the pump, the subsidies can't be maintained there, because the government spends too much money otherwise. They're running out of finances basically. They need more money. And then, with the government needing more money, Many people already tightening their belt quite tight, quite tight. Not much tighter could be given. And then you see things like state pays $20 million in compensation for wrongful dismissals between 2019 and 2023. The government has been ordered to pay more than $20.2 million in compensation for wrongful dismissal claims brought against the state and state agencies between January 2019 and October 2023. That works out to taxpayers paying more than $11,500 a day in total compensation during the 4-year period. Lovely government. Employ people. Employ more people than they need very regularly. And when come time to get rid of some of those people, get rid of them in such a way that it continues costing us more money. And no one or persons will directly be held accountable, my issue. That's the nature of government. That's the nature of government. And this is why I have a problem with government getting too much power, because government isn't accountable by and large. The main type of accountability that government and politicians have is an election. And that's once every 5 years in the case for Trinidad and Tobago. And the most we could do in an election is move them out, exchange them with the next one. This is about wrongful dismissals. The government has spent $20.2 million, $20 million basically, in paying wrongful dismissal suits in the last 4 years. Lots of money. How much of that amount was legal fees? I have no idea. Choose the lesser of two evils is our only option. Well, that's the nature of democratic politics, isn't it? You're kind of always choosing the lesser of two evils, trying to balance who is the least bad one in this case. I don't want the devil himself, so let's see who's a little better than the devil. Papa, I could do with a fire. Well, see if they could wrongfully fire you and what you'll get from that. They have a list here outlining a lot of what went on there. The AG promises to respond, but why is the state losing these legal matters? And are the state's legal arguments effective enough to protect their decisions and taxpayers' money? To answer these questions, the Sunday Guardian turned to public officials, but was unable to secure an explanation by the time of publication. Dr. Rowley did not respond to messages sent to him. Leader of Government Business Camille Robinson-Raggi said she did not have the necessary information at hand to offer a comment or response. Meanwhile, Attorney General, committed to responding by tomorrow, contacted yesterday, said he needed time to put out the inquiries on the matter. I cannot usefully comment before I receive the results of these inquiries, he said. You see, it's not their money. It's not their money. That's always the problem with governance. People spend money differently when it's not theirs. If every cent that was spent was coming out of the politician's personal pocket, the money would have been spent very differently. But when they get paid either way, they don't lose money making bad decisions. Then, so what? And that's why the idea that some people put the massive weight of responsibility, whenever there's a serious decision for anything in a state or a country, we have to get the government should do this and the government should do that, and you want to get the government to mandate a vaccine, if you're remembering back to the pandemic days. And if you think on that for 2 seconds, you understand why something like that is so insane. Governments don't have to succeed. If a government mandates a vaccine, and I am not going down the conspiratorial road like this is what is going to happen here, but I'm saying just the possibilities. If they do that and 1,000 people die, They may lose the next election and get a bad book written about them. They face no direct consequence. And you would be willing, or I should ask, are you willing to put the fate of your life, the fate of nearly anything serious pertaining to you, in the hands of people who lose nothing by failing you? You're jumping out a building and they're making a contraption at the bottom to catch you. And the people setting up the contraption, if you fall and splat onto the concrete, they're unbothered. They wash you off and go about their business. Nothing happens. How much faith would you put in whatever they are building there? I will tell you, I won't put much. It wouldn't make sense to put much. It's unwise to put much. Nature of governance. And in the nature of how our government works, our governance works, there is actually a lot that government can do that is within the purview of government. Beside hiring and firing a whole cadre of random intellectuals and paying them off for it. Mayor urges road network transformation amid business boom in Chaguanas. The growth of Chaguanas has been rapid, but Chaguanas Mayor Faik Mohammed is hoping that the growth is not stifled by the traffic situation in the borough. In the years past, many have looked to Chaguanas as a means to decentralize or shift the burden from Port of Spain and San Fernando. Many wondered if the borough could serve as a hub on the level of Trinidad's two cities. However, some 2 decades on from the opening of Price Smart, the subsequent development of Price Plaza has become the blueprint for what Mayor Mohammed has called the plaza capital of the country. And as a result, business investment has been flooding in. We actually have a lot of businesses coming into Chaguanas, and Chaguanas is expanding, said the mayor at the reopening of Ritual/Pizza Hut Church's Food Mall on Chaguanas Main Road last Thursday. Our city center, this main road is our city center, but we also have what I would say is a plaza capital as well. That's along the Narsalu Ramaya Road. There's a new plaza that's going to open soon on the strip near to Price Plaza. You'll have Extra Plaza, Pennywise Plaza. Right next to the Pennywise Plaza, there's a new plaza that is building, and I think just before Christmas or after Christmas it should be opening. The Chaguanas mayor also noted that another shopping development away from that strip is also expected to expand shortly. Yeah, there are new opportunities coming. Brentwood actually is opening phase 2 of its mall as well within Chaguanas, so there's a lot of business coming into Chaguanas, said Mohammed. And for those of you who live in and around Chaguanas, you know that's true. Chaguanas does seem to be expanding commercially. That's a good thing. It seems to be holding on to that commercial strength that, if we're being honest, Chaguanas has had for some time now. Chaguanas has been a shopping center for some time now. So the expansion of this kind of plaza commercial style in Chaguanas isn't totally surprising. With nightlife spots like Avala, Woodford Cafe and Lazy Lizard consistently drawing crowds on par with or surpassing those seen on Arapita Avenue, with the return as well of a Cineplex to Price Plaza following the opening of Cine Central last month, the mayor has been buoyed by what has been consistent investment by the business community in the area. This has not been limited solely to commercial activity, as he pointed out that there have been several residential developments in and around the borough as well. We know we have many businesses, but another factor that you have to consider, even though we have a lot of businesses, we have a lot of development, home development. Developers are building houses, single units. Basically, Chaguanas is the place people want to live in and do business, and our population is growing tremendously. In other words, Chaguanas is the best place in Trinidad. Of course, Central is best. That shouldn't even be an argument. But that's why I'm saying we need the government to intervene now. People are seeing the value of investing in Shogunas. We need the government to see that value now and invest in Shogunas. But he admitted this great expansion has only placed greater strain on the road network, and the traffic problem needs to be addressed. We understand that all this is happening. We had a meeting with the Minister of Works and Transport Traffic Management Branch yesterday, Wednesday, trying to come up with traffic solutions. But one of our major concerns is that no matter what we do, our road network system isn't enough to facilitate the amount of traffic flow that will come into Shogunas. What we really need is the intervention of the government. And here's the thing for me. This is where governments could really shine. Where governments could afford to show their positive side. This is all within the government purview. Get the road network done. Like, to me, a lot of the other areas where the government seems to be splurging money consistently, you could nearly forget about it. Invest in getting the road network to such a level that the commerce is able to pick up faster and people are able to see about themselves. Shogunas need another overpass. I always say that. One of the main problems with Shogunas, and I regularly say this because I am a central guy, I am in Shogunas regularly. The problem is Shogunas has two sides of the highway to its business area. There's the east and west side of the highway. The highway splits the city of Shogunas basically. And the problem is crossing the highway. There are only two main points in the main area of Shogunas to cross that highway. You can cross at Price Plaza there in that region, Endeavor, or you can cross at the Shogunas main road under the flyover there. Beside that, if you go further south, you have to go all the way to Chase Village, which makes no sense if it's just crossing the highway you are attempting to do. Or if you're going north, you have to go all the way to Monroe Road, which is giving you more traffic to find your way back to whatever you were doing in Shogunas main business district anyway. In this article, they spoke about that, and I previously saw the Ministry of Works speaking about this too. There are ideas for two more overpasses in Shogunas, one at the Brentwood region right there, and one around, I believe, was it by the Nagar or something to that effect, somewhere going down that side. I think if those two things are done, they will go a very long way to alleviating traffic. A very long way to alleviating traffic. Because lots of the traffic, when you consider what traffic is, for many people, it's just a matter of getting to where they have to go. If they are able to reach where they have to go through an alternative route faster, then that eases up the traffic. As it stands, if you are on the western side of the highway and you have to go to Price Mart for groceries, or you're looking to go to Super Farm, or you're looking to go to Extra Foods, or you're going to the Diwali Nagar, or you want to go to Pennywise Plaza, or you live anywhere along that region near to Homeland Plaza there, or you live anywhere in Endeavor, or you live Crown Trace, or you live Montrose side there, or you live Lange Park, any one of those areas, you have to use one lane to cross that highway. All of those people going to all of those divided interests all have to use one lane. However, if there are alternatives, if someone who is a resident trying to get home to Endeavor or trying to get home to Charlieville on the other side of the highway, and they could use the a crossing of the highway near the Nagar, fine. And the crossing of the highway at Medford is nearly exclusively customers going to Price Plaza. Perfect. You separate the traffic and now they don't all go through one choke point. And I think some of this would actually allow Shogunas to expand further. Because what you actually do very often when you do that, you spread out the traffic. And by spreading out the traffic to some extent, you spread out the commerce. Very likely, if those ideas which sound beautiful are done and you get a flyover right near to Brentwood there, I'm speaking as if people understand the geography here. I hope you do understand the geography. Brentwood is kind of halfway between Chase Village flyover and the Shogunas main flyover there. Well, not halfway, it's closer to Shogunas side. If you get a flyover coming right there back at Brentwood, well, Brentwood is already being developed into a high-end commercial area, but on the other side now of the highway, on the entrance into Shogunas, that's a road called Factory Road right around there, you're going to very likely get a lot of development happening right there. But our government don't think that far ahead. Yeah, and that is often the problem. Police will complain you're giving them too much work. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't think the police, that would be a real complaint. And our government doesn't think that far ahead. I fully agree. Because a lot of these problems could have been foreseen. There are some problems you could look and see them coming. You could foresee some of these problems. And, you know, this is the argument some people make for getting businessmen into politics, getting practical people into politics, people that are willing to do what it needs to actually get things done, not just bureaucracy and narratives and political thoughts and talk and fly around the world, but businessmen. Because give Jack his jacket in the most literal sense. When Jack Warner was the Minister of Works and Transport, he actually attempted to tackle some of these situations head on. The pragmatism of business people is sometimes something that is lacking sorely in politics. Why we does build house and put business, then clamor for infrastructure? Well, militant rockstar, what order would you like it to be done? Should people wait until the government expands the infrastructure before they start building their houses and businesses? Because if they're doing that, then they will be homeless and without a business. You cannot do it the other way around. The only people that could do it the other way around, oh, that's your point, the government needs to start doing. Yes, the government does need to start doing that, but unfortunately it isn't done. Unfortunately it is not. We move wrong-sided like that. That's what we need. Some future thinking, seeing things ahead. But yeah, as I said, businessmen tend to have a different view on a lot of those things. When Jack Warner was in the position as Minister of Works and Transport, you saw that he, and if you are in my life enough, you know that I am not necessarily a massive Jack Warner fan, but you saw that he attempted to do something. Like, there were practical solutions. You could look at this and see that someone was obviously looking and understanding that this is a problem and they're trying to solve it. I remember they changed Ramsaran Street to, they were attempting to do an avenue kind of feel there where they're more easy to happen. The traffic situation isn't as strangling with that kind of breadth of road that they did on Ramsaran there. And that was a good idea. That was a good idea. The idea for Ramsaran Avenue in Shogunas there was a beautiful idea, but it was not expanded on. Now, I'm hoping that you guys understand Shogunas geography, because I'm speaking as if you do. If you have that wide Ramsaran Road now, avenue, and then you have a flyover connecting to Brentwood from literally 400 meters away from there, do you understand the commerce now that you are driving into that Ramsaran Avenue inside of Shogunas there and connecting with the other side of the flyover to the Brentwood Mall and Brentwood residential areas? Planning. planning. That's why younger politicians is needed. I agree. Yes, we do need younger politicians, and you do sometimes tend to find many old people who aren't quick on getting things done. I agree with that. But oftentimes the problem with some young people is they don't make their bed up before they go and try to solve the world's problems. To quote from one Dr. Peterson, many young people don't have an accurate idea of solving problems because they don't have an accurate idea of understanding problems in the first place. So sometimes the simplistic naivety of young people and the solutions that they put forward, sometimes they could create more problems than they cure. So it's very possible that a young person might come in and attempt to make Shogunus into a pedestrian only zone. I could see that happening. So young people, the younger politicians in London, I don't know how many of you are following what's happening in London with the ULEZ. They're attempting to make London into a low carbon zone where you have to pay $10 or $11 according to the age of your £11 according to the age of your vehicle to get them to go inside of the London city. And they have cameras they're putting all over the city trying to implement this plan, and there may be many young people who may be going along with a plan like that, and I find plans like that to be disastrous. That's not something that you want. Militant Rockstar says on that choke point, the bane of all north-south traffic by Bhagwan Singh. Yep. That north-south traffic. Now, the reality is the north-south traffic happens like that because it goes from a 2-lane there into a 4-lane. Is it 4 lanes or 3 lanes? That's the reason there's that traffic. It's a bottleneck. So part of that solution is widening the road, the highway going all the way down. Part of that problem is that in order to widen the highway going down, you have to widen the flyover, Shogunus flyover, which would be a major infrastructural project. That's part of the problem right there. There's a proposal for New York City also. I think the proposal fee for areas of the city is up to $24. Yeah, I don't like those kinds of ideas. And I think that's where the government goes beyond its job. The government's job is to facilitate the commerce, make the situation, make the environment in such a way that people are able to freely go about and engage in market activities. Your job isn't to control the market activities itself. It's as it were to create the market stall, make sure the corridors of the market are clean and running freely. You aren't really supposed to dictate what the market sells and the prices they sell it for and how much water they spray on it while they're waiting. No, that's not what the free market is about. I don't like those things. Yeah, everyone watching their emissions but not their poverty levels, blah. I don't even think it's about emissions. It's about control, really and truly. The emissions talk is nonsense. It makes no sense. If you look at it on the grand scale of it, it makes no sense. By doing that, they may reduce something like 0.002% of global emissions or some kind of ridiculous nonsense like that. So you're trying to tell me you're worried about the whole world coming crashing down, Chicken Little, the sky falling down on us. You worried about that because of the release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and you are going to propose solutions that reduce it by 0.0 something percent. Those solutions make no sense. They're inconsequential. That's like someone on the Titanic, after they hit the iceberg, suggesting that they get buckets and start bailing water. Is San Fernando Hospital car park really privately owned? $8 an hour, we are still parking in mud. I don't know, in a Reds. To be very honest with you, I'm not a Sando lad. I don't know. This is the first I'm hearing about such things. I might look to dig in and see what I can find, but I don't know if it's privately owned. I don't know if it's privately owned. I don't know what the ownership arrangement is in that case. Sometimes what you find is it may be publicly owned and privately leased, as in, for all you know, it may be a public property, but they leased it to a private owner to do the running and maintenance, etc., etc., etc. So I'm seeing what happens sometimes. I don't know if it's the case in Sando there. I don't know. Also, it's government owned. I see. Well, there you have it, government owned. $8 now. $8 an hour. That seems a bit steep for 10 hours. If you're staying 10 hours, $80. I mean, you need to park. You need to park. That's the nature of cities. That's the difficulty in cities, isn't it? What you gonna do? And maybe part of the benefit, part of what you could do is try to see if there could be competition in car parks in some of those cities, car parks that may charge cheaper, etc. But I don't know. I just don't know about the San Fernando car park. If it is a government car park, maybe you could try to make some noise to get it better maintained, as in not being parking in mud. The workers are contract workers, they're not public workers. I see. Contracted by whom though? If they're contract, who are they contracted under? Anyway, people, that's all I have for tonight. It's a Monday night. We're starting off slow, meaning they hired like private sector folks. I see. That's all we have for tonight. We're looking to wrap up there. If there are no further comments or questions in the live, any further comments or questions before I dive out? So France is under a travel terrorist alert. No surprise there. Really, all of the Western world probably should be under some kind of terrorist alert right now. I saw something that allegations are Iran responsible for some kind of attacks on certain US spots in Syria and Iraq. I saw President Biden was in the middle of some speech and he had to cut it short and go to the Situation Room, allegedly for that same situation. And the United States is now moving in more military equipment into the region to hopefully offset that. Who knows? But things look like they're heating up. It looks like things are moving in the wrong direction out there in the Middle East. Pray for peace. What you gonna see? Alright, as Trini Hotep says, be mindful, not mindless. I thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. I am Nathan Springer. Thank you guys for being here. This was the Mindful Live Show. I will be here for the next Mindful Live tomorrow evening around that 9 p.m. time. We had a late start this evening. Yes, I know. But we're getting back to the 9 p.m. We're getting back to the 9 p.m. guys. I will see you then. Until then, guys, hold it down. Stay safe. I am out. Peace.